The front door clicked open at 2:47 p.m. on a Tuesday, and Joon-woo froze in the marble foyer of his Denver penthouse. He wasn't supposed to be home for another 6 hours. His meeting in Boulder had been canceled last minute. Something about federal investigators sniffing around one of his legitimate shipping companies. He heard voices from the living room, his wife's laugh, high and bright. Then another voice, unfamiliar, speaking in hushed tones. Joon-woo moved silently across the floor, years of dangerous living making his footsteps soundless despite his size. He was a big man, broad-shouldered, with the kind of face that made people nervous in dark parking lots. But right now, his heart hammered against his chest with something unfamiliar. Fear, maybe, or dread. He reached the doorway and stopped cold. His wife, Hyun-mi, sat on the cream-colored sofa with her back to him. And kneeling on the floor in front of her, holding her hands, was their housekeeper, a tall woman with rich, dark skin and kind eyes that Joon-woo had hired 3 months ago. The housekeeper's head turned slightly, catching his presence in her peripheral vision. Her eyes went wide. "Don't move," she whispered, so quietly he almost missed it. Not to him, to Hyun-mi. Joon-woo's hand went automatically to the gun at his waist. "What the hell is—" "She's leaving you," the housekeeper said, still not moving, her voice steady and calm. "And if you pull that weapon, Mr. Beck, you're going to do something you can't take back." Hyun-mi turned then, tears streaming down her perfectly made-up face. She looked at him with something worse than anger. Pity. "Joon-woo, I tried to wait until you got home tonight," she said, her voice shaking. "But I can't. I can't do this anymore." The room tilted sideways. Joon-woo had faced down rival gangs, corrupt cops, men who wanted him dead. He'd been shot twice, stabbed once, and beaten more times than he could count. But nothing had ever felt like this. "What are you talking about?" His voice came out wrong, too rough, too desperate. The housekeeper finally stood, placing herself between him and Hyun-mi. She was tall, almost his height, and she didn't look afraid. That annoyed him and impressed him in equal measure. "My name is Gabriella," she said quietly. "I'm from Uganda, and your wife hired me 3 months ago because she needed someone to help her plan her exit." "Her what?" "Joon-woo, please." Hyun-mi stood now, wrapping her arms around herself. "You're never here. And when you are, you're not really here. You're thinking about the business, about the next deal, about covering your tracks. I'm 32 years old and I feel like I'm married to a ghost." "That's not fair," he said, but even as the words left his mouth, he knew they were weak. "I give you everything. This penthouse, the cars, the things," Hyun-mi interrupted. "You give me things, but I wanted a husband. I wanted a partner. Instead, I got a roommate who happens to run half the underground operations in Colorado." Gabriella moved slightly, and Joon-woo noticed a small suitcase by the door. Just one. Hyun-mi was really leaving. "Where will you go?" he asked, hating how small his voice sounded. "Seoul. My mother's been asking me to come home for years. Maybe it's time I listened." Something cracked inside his chest. His mother-in-law had never liked him, had warned Hyun-mi against marrying a man involved in bad business. She'd been right, probably. But that didn't make it hurt any less. "So that's it?" Joon-woo looked at Gabriella. "You helped her do this?" "I helped her find her courage," Gabriella said simply. "Sometimes people need someone to remind them they deserve better." "And you know what I deserve?" The anger was coming now, hot and familiar. "No." Gabriella met his gaze steadily. "But I know what she deserves. And so do you, if you're honest with yourself." Hyun-mi picked up her suitcase. She walked toward him, and for a moment, Joon-woo thought she might change her mind. Instead, she reached up and placed her hand against his cheek. "I really did love you once," she whispered. "Maybe I still do. But I can't be married to someone who's already married to danger and money. I'm sorry." She kissed his forehead, soft and final, then walked past him toward the door. The apartment fell silent except for the click of her heels and then the sound of the front door closing. Joon-woo stood there, staring at nothing, feeling like someone had reached into his chest and ripped out something vital. "You should sit down," Gabriella said after a long moment. "You should get out of my house." "I will," she said calmly. "But first, you should sit down before you fall down." He wanted to argue, but his legs felt unsteady. He sank onto the sofa, the same one Hyunmi had been sitting on minutes ago, and put his head in his hands. Gabriella disappeared into the kitchen. He heard water running, the clink of glass. She returned with a tumbler of water and set it on the table in front of him. "I don't need a babysitter," he muttered. "No," she agreed. "But you need someone to make sure you don't do anything stupid in the next hour. So I'll stay that long. Then I'll go." "Why?" She sat in the chair across from him, maintaining distance. "Because I've seen men like you spiral before, and because despite everything, I don't think you're a bad person. Dangerous, maybe. Complicated, definitely, but not bad. You don't know anything about me." "I know more than you think," Gabriella said quietly. "I know you call your mother in Busan every Sunday morning. I know you donate anonymously to 3 different children's hospitals. I know you haven't fired the driver who crashed your Mercedes because he was rushing his daughter to the emergency room. I know you're more than what you do for a living." Joon-woo looked up at her, really looked at her for the first time. She had high cheekbones and eyes that seemed to see too much. Her hair was pulled back in a simple style, and she wore plain black pants and a white shirt. A uniform, basically, but she wore it with a quiet dignity that made it seem like a choice rather than a requirement. "How old are you?" he asked suddenly. 29. Why?" "You sound older." A small smile touched her lips. "I grew up fast. Uganda in the 90s wasn't exactly peaceful. My family came to the States when I was 12, settled in Richmond, Virginia. I've been working since I was 14. "Why housekeeping?" She shrugged. "Why not? It's honest work. It pays decently. And I like taking care of things. Making order out of chaos. There's something satisfying about that." "Hyunmi paid you extra, didn't she? To help her leave?" "No," Gabriella said firmly. "She paid me my regular salary. I helped her because she asked, and because she needed it. Not everything is a transaction, Mr. Beck." He flinched at the formal address. "Just call me Joon-woo." "All right, Joon-woo." They sat in silence for a while. Outside, Denver's afternoon traffic hummed below them. The penthouse suddenly felt enormous and empty. "What am I supposed to do now?" he asked, not really expecting an answer. "That depends," Gabriella said. "Do you want her back?" Did he? Joon-woo wasn't sure anymore. Part of him was already calculating. He could follow her to Seoul, make grand gestures, promise to change. But another part of him, the honest part he usually ignored, wondered if Hyunmi was right. Maybe they'd become strangers sharing an address. "I don't know," he admitted. "Then maybe you should figure that out before you do anything else." Wise words from a housekeeper. Wise words from someone who's lived enough to know them, she corrected gently. "Look, I'll stay another 30 minutes to make sure you're all right. Then I'll go. You should probably eat something. And maybe call a friend." "I don't really have friends," Joon-woo said. "I have associates, business partners, people who owe me favors." "Then call your mother? And tell her what? That she was right about Hyunmi's mother being right about me?" Gabriella stood and moved back toward the kitchen. "I'm making you food. You don't have to eat it, but I'm making it anyway." Joon-woo watched her go, feeling disoriented. This wasn't how his day was supposed to go. He was supposed to be in Boulder right now, intimidating some middle manager into looking the other way on shipping manifests. Instead, he was sitting in his empty penthouse while a Ugandan housekeeper made him lunch like he was a child who'd scraped his knee. The smell of cooking reached him, something savory and unfamiliar. His stomach growled despite everything. When Gabriella returned, she carried a bowl of something steaming. "Groundnut stew," she said, setting it in front of him with a spoon. "Comfort food from home. Well, my home. It might help." "Why are you being nice to me? You helped my wife leave." "I helped her save herself," Gabriella corrected, "and I'm being nice to you because you're human and you're hurting. Those two things don't require you to be perfect to deserve kindness." Joon-woo picked up the spoon and tried the stew. It was rich and warm, with flavors he couldn't identify, but somehow made him feel steadier. He ate slowly, and Gabriella sat across from him again, just present. Not pushing, not talking, just there. When he finished, he set the bowl down and looked at her. "Thank you." "You're welcome. I should probably pay you for today, for staying." "No," she said firmly. "Today isn't about money." "Then why did you stay? You could have left with Hyunmi." Gabriella was quiet for a moment, choosing her words carefully. "Because I know what it's like to have your world change in an instant, and I know how dangerous that first hour can be, when you're deciding who you're going to become next. I stayed to make sure you became someone you could live with tomorrow." Something in her words struck deep. Joon-woo had made a lot of choices in his 38 years, many of them in moments just like this, when the world shifted and he had to decide which way to fall. More often than not, he'd chosen violence or manipulation or cold calculation. But right now, sitting across from this woman who had every reason to hate him and instead chose to feed him soup, he felt something different stirring. "Can I ask you something?" he said. "Sure." "Do you think people can change? Really change?" Gabriella considered this seriously. "I think people can grow. Whether that's the same as changing, I don't know. But I think if you want to be different tomorrow than you are today, that's a start." "Hyunmi thinks I'm married to my work." "Are you?" He wanted to say no automatically, but he forced himself to think about it. His days started at 5 a.m. checking reports from his various operations. His nights ended whenever the last crisis was resolved. He took calls during dinners, during movies, during the few times he and Hyunmi had tried to take vacations. He'd missed her birthday last year because of a shipment issue. He'd forgotten their anniversary the year before that. "Yeah," he said quietly. "I probably am." "Then maybe that's something to think about," Gabriella said. "If you want different results, you have to make different choices." She stood and gathered the empty bowl. "I should go now. You'll be all right?" Joon-woo nodded, not trusting himself to speak. Gabriella walked to the door, then paused and turned back. "For what it's worth, I don't think this is the end of your story. It's just a really hard chapter. But you get to write what comes next." Then she was gone, leaving him alone in the vast emptiness of his penthouse with nothing but his thoughts and the lingering smell of groundnut stew. The next 3 days passed in a blur. Joon-woo didn't go into the office. He sent word through his second-in-command that he was dealing with personal matters. His associates knew better than to ask questions. He spent the time doing something he hadn't done in years, thinking. Really thinking about his life, his choices, what he'd built, and what he'd destroyed in the building. On the 4th day, he called his mother in Busan. "Joon-woo-ya," she answered, her voice warm and worried. "It's Thursday. You never call on Thursday. What's wrong?" "Iama." His throat tightened. "Hyunmi left me." The silence on the other end was heavy. "I'm sorry," his mother said finally, "but I'm not surprised." "I know. What will you do?" "I don't know yet, but maybe I need to figure out who I am without the business, without all of this." His mother was quiet for a long moment. "You know what your father used to say? That a man who has everything but himself has nothing. I think you're finally learning what he meant." They talked for an hour, longer than they'd talked in years. When he hung up, Joon-woo felt lighter somehow, or maybe just less heavy. He was standing on the balcony, watching Denver's skyline turn orange with sunset, when his phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. "I forgot to mention, I left some meals in your freezer. The green containers are matok, yellow is rice and beans, red is more ground nut stew. Heat them up when you're hungry. Also, you should probably call a therapist." Despite everything, Joon-woo found himself smiling. How did she get his number? Then he remembered. She'd worked in his house for 3 months. She probably knew more about him than most people in his life. He texted back, "How much do I owe you for the food?" Her response came quickly. "Nothing. Consider it a housewarming gift for your new life, whatever that looks like. Can I at least say thank you in person?" The 3 dots appeared and disappeared several times before her response came through. "I don't think that's a good idea." "Why not?" "Because I'm the help and you're you. Let's not complicate things." Joon-woo stared at the message. She was right, obviously. Getting involved with anyone right now was a terrible idea. Getting involved with the woman who'd helped his wife leave was possibly the worst idea in the history of bad ideas. But he texted back anyway. "What if I'm tired of uncomplicated things? What if complicated is what I need right now?" No response came. He waited 5 minutes, then 10, then gave up and pocketed his phone. It was probably for the best. He needed to focus on himself, figure out his next steps. Maybe actually take his mother's advice and find a therapist. 2 weeks passed. Joon-woo started making changes. Small ones at first. He delegated more at work. He started going to a gym instead of the one in his building, forcing himself to be around normal people doing normal things. He ate the food Gabriella had left and found himself missing it when it ran out. He didn't contact her again. Then, one rainy Tuesday morning, he was leaving the gym when he saw her. She was across the street, coming out of a coffee shop, holding an umbrella and laughing at something someone inside had said. Before he could think better of it, Joon-woo crossed the street. "Gabriella." She turned, her smile fading into surprise. "Joon-woo. Hi." "Hi." He felt suddenly awkward, like a teenager who didn't know what to do with his hands. I wanted to thank you again. For that day. And for the food." "You already did," she said. "Multiple times." "I know, but..." He trailed off. What did he want? Why had he crossed the street? She studied his face, and something in her expression softened. "You look better. Less like you're about to fall apart." "I'm working on it," he said. "Therapy, actually. Twice a week." Her eyebrows rose. "Really? Really? Turns out I have some things to work through." A small smile tugged at her lips. "Don't we all?" They stood there in the rain, him getting wet because he had no umbrella, her dry beneath hers. The moment stretched awkward and strange and somehow right. "I should go," Gabriella said finally. "I have another job in 30 minutes. "Another house?" "An office building downtown. I picked up extra work after. Because she'd lost her job at his place. Guilt twisted in his stomach. "Let me hire you back," he said impulsively. "Double your old salary. You can set your own hours." "No." The word was firm, but not unkind. "Why not?" She looked at him with those eyes that saw too much. Because you're not looking for a housekeeper, Joon-woo, and I'm not interested in being whatever it is you think you need right now. The truth of it stung. You're right. I'm sorry. Don't be sorry, be honest. With yourself at least. She turned to walk away, and Joon-woo felt something like panic rise in his chest. Wait, can I at least buy you coffee sometime? Just to talk? Gabriella paused and looked back at him over her shoulder. The rain fell, harder, and her umbrella cast shadows across her face. Maybe, she said finally, but not yet. You're still figuring things out. And I'm not someone's rebound or therapy project or whatever this would be. What if it's not any of those things? Then prove it, she said simply. Become the person you want to be first. Then maybe we can have coffee. She walked away, leaving him standing in the rain, soaked and confused, and somehow more hopeful than he'd felt in months. Joon-woo watched her until she disappeared around the corner, then pulled out his phone and texted his therapist. Can we add a third session this week? I think I need it. The response came back within minutes. Absolutely. Thursday at 4? Perfect. Thank you. He pocketed his phone and started walking back to his car, the rain soaking through his jacket, water running down his face. And for the first time in a long time, he felt like maybe, just maybe, he was heading in the right direction. 3 months later, Joon-woo stood in his therapist's office in downtown Denver, looking out the window at the snow-covered streets below. Dr. Patricia Chen sat behind her desk, reviewing her notes from their session. You've made remarkable progress, she said, glancing up at him. When you first came in, you could barely talk about your marriage ending without shutting down. Now you're actually processing it. It still hurts, Joon-woo admitted. But it doesn't feel like dying anymore. It just feels like loss. That's healthy. Loss is supposed to hurt. Dr. Chen set down her pen. So what's troubling you today? You seem distracted. He turned from the window. I keep thinking about someone. Hyunmi? No. Someone else. The woman who helped her leave. Dr. Chen's expression remained neutral, but Joon-woo caught the slight raise of her eyebrow. The housekeeper. Gabriella, yeah. I ran into her a few months back and, I don't know. I can't stop thinking about her. Have you contacted her? No. She told me to become the person I wanted to be first. Smart woman, Dr. Chen said with a slight smile. And do you think you're there yet? Joon-woo considered this. He'd made changes, real ones. He'd stepped back from the more dangerous aspects of his business operations, was actively working on going completely legitimate within the next 2 years. He'd reconnected with old friends, ones who weren't connected to his work. He'd started volunteering at a community center in Aurora, teaching kids taekwondo on Saturday mornings. I don't know if anyone is ever completely there, he said slowly, but I'm closer than I was. Then maybe it's time to reach out. But Joon-woo. Dr. Chen leaned forward. Be honest about your intentions. Don't pursue her because she represents some kind of redemption or proof that you've changed. Pursue her because you genuinely want to know her. I do, he said. I think about the way she stayed that day when she didn't have to. The way she saw me at my worst and didn't flinch. The way she made me soup and told me hard truths. I want to know more. Then tell her that. Honestly and clearly. That evening, Joon-woo sat in his penthouse with his phone in his hand, staring at the last text exchange with Gabriella from 3 months ago. His thumb hovered over her name, then pulled back. What would he even say? He set the phone down and ran his hands through his hair. This was ridiculous. He'd faced down dangerous men without hesitation, but the thought of texting one woman made his palms sweat. His phone buzzed. A text from his mother. When are you coming to visit? It's been too long. Your sister misses you too. Joon-woo smiled. His younger sister Min Seo was getting married in 3 months. He'd promised to be there for the wedding and actually meant to keep that promise this time. He texted back, "Soon, Iyama. I'm working on some things here first. Always working. Some things never change." The words stung a little, even though he knew she didn't mean them to. But maybe that was the point. He was still working, just on different things now. On impulse, he picked up his phone again and texted Gabriella. "I know you said not yet, but I wanted you to know I'm still trying. Therapy is helping. I'm making real changes. And whenever you're ready, if you're ever ready, I'd really like to take you for that coffee. No pressure, no expectations, just 2 people talking. JW." He hit send before he could second-guess himself, then immediately regretted it. Too much? Not enough? Should he have been more casual? His phone stayed silent. The next day was Saturday, which meant taekwondo at the community center. Joon-woo arrived early and found the gym already filling with kids aged 6 to 14, all bouncing with energy despite the early hour. "Mr. Beck, Mr. Beck." A small girl named Destiny ran up to him, her black belt tied crooked around her waist. "Can we do the jumping kicks today, please?" "We'll see," he said, kneeling to fix her belt. "First we work on basics. Then if everyone focuses, we can try some jumping kicks." "Yes!" She pumped her fist and ran off to join her friends. Joon-woo had been volunteering here for 2 months now, and it had become his favorite part of the week. These kids didn't know about his past, didn't care about his money or his connections. They just saw a teacher who showed up and cared about them improving. Halfway through the class, while the kids were practicing their forms, Joon-woo noticed someone standing in the doorway. His heart jumped. Gabriella stood there, wearing jeans and a green sweater, watching the class with an expression he couldn't read. He forced himself to focus on the kids, making corrections and offering encouragement, but his awareness of her presence hummed like electricity under his skin. When class ended and the parents started arriving to pick up their children, Gabriella approached slowly. "You're good with them," she said. "The kids. They're easier than adults," Joon-woo replied, his mouth suddenly dry. "They tell you exactly what they think. Must be refreshing." "It is." They stood in awkward silence for a moment. Around them, kids gathered their belongings and chattered about their plans for the weekend. "I got your text," Gabriella said finally. "I know it was probably too soon." "No," she interrupted. "It was nice. Honest. I appreciated that." "So, does that mean—" She smiled slightly. "I'm here, aren't I?" Joon-woo felt something warm spread through his chest. "You are. Does that mean coffee?" "It means coffee," she confirmed. "But let's be clear about what this is. I want to get to know you. The actual you. Not the person you were, or the person you're trying to become. Just who you are right now. Can you handle that?" "I can try." "Then let's start with that." They ended up at a small Ethiopian coffee shop in Capitol Hill that Gabriella loved. The owner, an older woman named Rahel, greeted Gabriella like family and gave Joon-woo a suspicious once-over before seating them at a corner table. "She's protective," Gabriella explained, wrapping her hands around a cup of spiced coffee. "I've been coming here since I moved to Denver 4 years ago." "How did you end up in Denver?" Joon-woo asked. "You said your family settled in Richmond." "They did. But I wanted something different. Somewhere that didn't remind me of everything we'd left behind. Denver felt like a place where I could start fresh. Mountains instead of memories, you know." He did know. Wasn't that what he was trying to do now? Build something new from the wreckage of his old life? "What about you?" Gabriella asked. "How does a Korean kid end up running operations in Colorado?" Joon-woo hesitated. He'd spent years perfecting a sanitized version of his history for public consumption. But she'd asked for honesty. My father was involved in similar work back in Seoul, he said carefully. When I was 20, he sent me to the States to expand. I was supposed to set up operations and report back. Instead, I took over, built my own thing. We haven't spoken in 8 years. That must be hard. It is what it is, Joon-woo said, then caught himself. Actually, no. It's terrible. I miss him sometimes. Miss the version of him that used to take me fishing before everything got complicated. You can miss someone and still be angry at them, Gabriella said softly. Those things can exist at the same time. Is that how you feel about Uganda? Do you miss it? Her expression grew distant. Every day. But I also remember the fear, the instability. My parents made the right choice bringing us here. That doesn't mean it doesn't hurt to be away from the place you call home. They talked for 2 hours, their coffee growing cold and being replaced with fresh cups. Joon-woo learned that Gabriella loved terrible reality TV shows, that she sent money back to her extended family every month, that she dreamed of opening her own cleaning company one day, but was saving up for the startup costs. What about you? She asked. What do you dream about when you let yourself dream? No one had ever asked him that. Joon-woo thought about it seriously. I think I'd like to be boring, he said finally. I know that sounds strange, but I'd like to have a normal life. Wake up, go to a job that doesn't involve looking over my shoulder, come home to someone who's happy to see me, maybe coach taekwondo full-time, have a dog. Just be normal. Gabriella smiled. Normal is underrated until you don't have it. Exactly. When they finally left the coffee shop, the sun was setting, painting Denver's sky in shades of orange and pink. They walked slowly toward the parking lot, neither seeming ready for the afternoon to end. This was nice, Gabriella said. Thank you for being honest, for not trying to impress me or sell me some version of yourself. Thank you for giving me a chance. So, she looked up at him. What happens now? Can I see you again? The words came out before he could stop them. Probably, she said, and that single word felt like a victory. But before they could say anything else, a black sedan pulled into the parking lot, moving too fast. Joon-woo's instincts flared immediately. He stepped in front of Gabriella without thinking. The car stopped abruptly and a man got out. Young, maybe mid-20s, wearing an expensive suit that didn't quite fit his frame. One of Joon-woo's associates, a lieutenant named Tae-min. Boss, Tae-min said, his voice tight. We've got a problem. Your father's people. They're here. In Denver. They want to meet. Joon-woo felt his stomach drop. When? Tonight. They're at the warehouse on Alameda. Joon-woo closed his eyes briefly. 8 years of silence and his father chose now to reach out? I have to go, he said to Gabriella, hating the words even as he spoke them. But she surprised him. Then go. Handle your business. But Joon-woo? She placed her hand on his arm. Don't let this pull you back into something you're trying to leave. Whatever he wants. Remember who you're trying to become. He covered her hand with his. I will. Promise me. I promise. She squeezed his arm once, then stepped back. Joon-woo wanted to say more, wanted to explain, but Tae-min was shifting anxiously, and he knew time was running out. I'll call you, he said. You better. He got into the sedan, and as they pulled away, he watched Gabriella in the side mirror until she disappeared from view. The warehouse on Alameda Avenue sat in an industrial section of Denver that most people avoided after dark. Joon-woo's sedan pulled up to the loading dock at exactly 8 p.m., and he took a moment to steady his breathing before stepping out. His father's men were easy to spot, 3 of them standing by a black SUV with Korean plates, which meant they'd driven all the way from California. That was dedication. Or desperation. The man in the center was older than the others, maybe 60, with silver hair and the kind of face that had seen too much. He bowed slightly when Joon-woo approached. "Baek Joon-woo si," the man said formally. "I am Park Sung-ho. Your father sent me to extend an invitation." "An invitation?" Joon-woo repeated flatly. "After 8 years of nothing." Park didn't flinch. "Your father requests your presence in Los Angeles. There are matters that require discussion. Family matters. I don't have family in LA anymore. Your father is dying." The words hit like a physical blow. Joon-woo felt his carefully constructed composure crack. "What?" "Liver cancer, stage 4. The doctors give him 6 months, maybe less." Park's expression remained neutral. "He wishes to see you before the end." Joon-woo turned away, his hands clenching into fists. 8 years. 8 years of silence, of building his own life, of trying to become something different than what his father had made him. And now this. "Why should I believe you?" he asked without turning around. "You shouldn't," Park said simply. "But I brought proof." He held out a manila envelope. Joon-woo took it with shaking hands and pulled out medical records, doctor's notes, scan results, all bearing his father's name, all showing the same terrible truth. "He could have called himself," Joon-woo said, his voice rough. "He wanted to. But pride is a difficult thing to swallow, even when dying, so he sent me instead." Park paused. "He asks that you come within the week. He has things he wishes to say, things he wishes to make right." Joon-woo laughed bitterly. "Make right? You can't make right 30 years of wrong in 6 months. Perhaps not, but you can try." "Tell him." Joon-woo stopped. What could he say? That he didn't care? That would be a lie? That he'd come running? That would be worse. "Tell him I'll think about it." Park bowed again. That is all he can ask. The men got back into their SUV and drove away, leaving Joon-woo standing alone in the warehouse parking lot with a folder full of death sentences. He sat in his car for 20 minutes before he could trust himself to drive. When he finally pulled out his phone, he had 3 missed calls, 2 from Tae-min and 1 from an unknown number. He called the unknown number back. "Joon-woo?" Gabriella's voice came through, worried. "Are you okay? I know I probably shouldn't have called, but I wanted to make sure you were all right." Something in his chest loosened. "Can I see you? I know it's late, but..." "Where are you?" "Alameda and Santa Fe. There's an all-night diner on Colfax and Broadway. Meet me there in 20 minutes. She hung up before he could respond. The diner was called Rosie's, one of those places that had been serving eggs and coffee to insomniacs and night shift workers since the 70s. Joon-woo found Gabriella in a corner booth, 2 cups of coffee already waiting. He slid in across from her and just looked at her. She'd changed into sweats and a hoodie, her hair pulled back, no makeup. She looked real and solid and exactly what he needed. "Tell me," she said simply. So he did. He told her about his father, about the 8 years of silence, about the medical records and the impossible choice sitting in front of him. The words poured out, and she listened without interrupting, just nodding occasionally and pushing the coffee toward him when his voice got too rough. "So what are you going to do?" she asked when he finally fell silent. "I don't know. Part of me wants to let him die alone. Let him feel what that's like." "And the other part?" "The other part remembers being 7 years old and fishing with him on the Han River. The way he'd laugh when I caught something, even if it was tiny. The way he'd ruffle my hair and call me his little warrior." Joon-woo's throat tightened. That man is in there somewhere, under all the terrible choices and the years of violence. And maybe I need to say goodbye to him before it's too late. Gabriella reached across the table and took his hand. "Then you should go." "Just like that?" "Just like that. Because if you don't, you'll spend the rest of your life wondering what he wanted to say, what you could have said back. That kind of wondering, it eats you alive from the inside out. You sound like you're speaking from experience. Her expression grew sad. My grandmother raised me for the first 7 years of my life while my parents worked. When we left Uganda, I didn't get to say goodbye. She died 3 years later, and I never got to tell her what she meant to me. I think about that all the time. About the words I didn't say. I'm sorry. Don't be sorry. Just learn from my mistake. Say what needs to be said while you still can. They sat there for another hour, drinking terrible coffee and talking about everything and nothing. At some point, Gabriella slid around to his side of the booth, close enough that their shoulders touched, and that small contact felt like an anchor keeping him steady. "Can I tell you something?" Joon-woo asked as the diner started filling with the early morning breakfast crowd. "Anything. I'm scared. Not of my father dying, but of going back to LA and becoming the person I used to be. That city, those people, they bring out the worst in me." "Then don't let them," Gabriella said firmly. "You're not that person anymore. You're someone who teaches kids taekwondo on Saturday mornings and goes to therapy twice a week and drinks terrible diner coffee at 3 a.m. because life got complicated. That person is who you are now. The other stuff? That's just where you came from. You make it sound simple. It's not simple at all. But it's true." The sun was starting to rise when they finally left the diner. Joon-woo walked Gabriella to her car, an old Honda Civic that had seen better days. "Thank you," he said, "for coming, for listening, for everything." "That's what friends do," she said, then paused. "We are friends, right? I mean, I know this is complicated and weird and probably breaks all kinds of social rules about employers and employees and—" He stopped her rambling by taking her hand and bringing it to his lips, pressing a soft kiss to her knuckles. The gesture felt old-fashioned and right. "We're friends," he confirmed. "If that's what you want." "For now," she said, her voice soft. "Let's start with friends and see where it goes." "I can work with that." She squeezed his hand once, then got in her car. "Call me when you get to LA. Let me know you made it safe." "I will." "And Joon-woo, whatever happens with your father, you're going to be okay. I know it doesn't feel like it right now, but you will be." He watched her drive away, then stood there in the parking lot as the sun climbed higher and Denver woke up around him. 2 days later, Joon-woo flew to Los Angeles. Taemin had wanted to come with him, but he'd refused. This was something he needed to do alone. His father's house was in Koreatown, a sprawling property behind high walls that probably violated half a dozen zoning laws. Joon-woo sat in the rental car outside for 10 minutes before he could make himself get out. The door opened before he could knock. A woman in her 50s stood there, someone he didn't recognize. "Joon-woo-si," she said quietly. "Your father is expecting you. I'm Mrs. Kim, his nurse. Please, come in." The house looked different than he remembered. Smaller somehow, or maybe he'd just gotten bigger. The nurse led him through familiar hallways to a bedroom at the back of the house. His father lay in a hospital bed that looked obscene in the middle of what had once been his office. Monitors beeped softly, and the smell of antiseptic couldn't quite cover the underlying scent of sickness. "Abeoji?" Joon-woo said, the word feeling strange in his mouth after so many years. His father's eyes opened. They were the same dark brown Joon-woo saw in the mirror every morning, but sunken now, surrounded by shadows. "Joon-woo ya," his father whispered. "You came." "I'm here." His father tried to sit up, and Joon-woo found himself moving forward automatically to help, adjusting pillows and pressing the button to raise the bed. The gesture felt too intimate and not intimate enough. "You look good," his father said. "Healthy, strong. You look like hell." A ghost of a smile touched his father's lips. Still honest. That's good. I was worried America would make you soft. It did. Just not in the way you think. His father studied him for a long moment. Park said you've been making changes. Moving away from the business. Is that why you wanted to see me? To tell me I'm weak for wanting out? No. His father's voice was firm despite his weakness. I wanted to tell you that I'm proud of you. Joon-woo felt like he'd been punched. What? I'm proud, his father repeated. You're doing what I never had the courage to do. You're choosing a different path. A better one. You don't mean that. I do. His father coughed, a wet sound that made the nurse step forward with concern. He waved her away. Sit down, son. Let me tell you some things while I still can. Joon-woo sat in the chair beside the bed, his hands gripping his knees to keep them from shaking. I made mistakes, his father began. So many mistakes. I told myself I was building something for you, for our family. But really, I was just building a prison. For me and for you. I trapped you in this life before you were old enough to know what you were choosing. You didn't force me. I made my own choices. Did you? His father looked at him steadily. Or did you just do what you thought I wanted? What you thought would make me proud? Joon-woo opened his mouth to argue, then closed it. Because his father was right. How many of his early decisions had been about proving himself worthy? About showing his father he could be strong, could be ruthless, could be enough? I want you to promise me something, his father said. When I'm gone, I want you to walk away. From all of it. Sell the operations, dismantle what you can't sell, and just walk away. Build the life you actually want, not the one I built for you. It's not that simple. There are people depending on... There are always excuses, his father interrupted. Always reasons to stay. But if you don't get out now, you never will. And you'll end up here, in a bed like this, filled with regrets about the life you didn't live. The monitors beeped steadily in the silence that followed. There's someone, Joon-woo said finally. A woman. She's different. Makes me want to be different. His father smiled, a real smile this time. Then don't let her go. Don't make my mistakes. Your mother and I, we could have been happy. But I chose this life over her, over you, over everything that mattered. Don't be like me, Joon-woo-ya. Be better. They talked for 2 more hours, covering 30 years in short bursts between his father's growing exhaustion. There were apologies and confessions, old stories about Joon-woo's childhood that he'd forgotten, admissions of fear and failure that his father had never allowed himself to voice before. When Mrs. Kim finally insisted that his father needed to rest, Joon-woo stood to leave. His father caught his hand. Come back tomorrow? He asked, and the vulnerability in his voice was almost unbearable. I'll come back, Joon-woo promised. He returned every day for the next week. They played jangi, his father's hands shaking as he moved the pieces. They watched old Korean movies that his father loved. They ate traditional food that Mrs. Kim prepared, his father managing only a few bites while Joon-woo finished both plates. On the 6th day, his father's younger brother arrived. Uncle Jin-soo, who Joon-woo hadn't seen since he was a teenager. The reunion was awkward and emotional, 3 men trying to figure out how to be family after years of distance. On the 7th day, his father slept most of the time. Joon-woo sat beside the bed, holding his hand and telling him stories about Denver, about the taekwondo classes, about the strange Ugandan woman who'd somehow become important to him. Marry her, his father whispered at one point, his eyes still closed. Don't wait. Don't overthink it. Just marry her. We're not even dating, Abeoji. We're just friends. For now. But I see it in your voice when you talk about her. The way you soften. The way you smile without realizing it. That's love, son. Or the beginning of it. Joon-woo wanted to argue, but something in his chest told him his father might be right. That night, he called Gabriella from his hotel room. It was late, almost midnight, but she answered on the second ring. "How is it going?" she asked, her voice thick with sleep. "He's dying," Joon-woo said simply. "Maybe days now. The doctors aren't sure." "I'm sorry." "Don't be. We're saying things that needed to be said. That's more than most people get." "That's true." They talked for an hour, Joon-woo lying on the hotel bed and staring at the ceiling while Gabriella told him about her day, about the office building she was cleaning where someone kept leaving passive-aggressive notes about the bathroom supplies, about her younger brother calling from Richmond to ask for money again, about the terrible reality show episode she'd watched where someone had actually brought their ex to a couple's retreat. It was mundane and normal, and exactly what he needed. "I miss you," he said suddenly. The words surprised him as much as they probably surprised her. She was quiet for a moment. "I miss you too. When I get back to Denver, can I take you somewhere? Like a real date, not just coffee." "Where would we go?" "I don't know. Somewhere fun. Somewhere that has nothing to do with dying fathers or complicated pasts, or any of this heavy stuff. Just somewhere happy." "I'd like that," Gabriella said softly. "Come home safe, Joon-woo, and take care of yourself, okay? You matter too." After they hung up, Joon-woo realized something. Los Angeles didn't feel like home anymore. It hadn't for years. Home was Denver now. A city he'd chosen for strategic reasons but had somehow grown to love. Home was Saturday mornings with kids in a gym. Home was terrible coffee at 3 a.m. with someone who actually cared. Home was wherever Gabriella was. His father died 3 days later, peacefully in his sleep with Joon-woo and Uncle Jin-soo at his bedside. The funeral was small, just immediate family and a few old associates who'd stayed loyal through the years. Standing beside the grave, watching his father's casket being lowered into the ground, Joon-woo felt something shift inside him. Not closure exactly, more like permission. Permission to let go, to move forward, to become whoever he wanted to be next. Uncle Jin-soo clapped him on the shoulder. "What will you do now?" "I'm going to go home," Joon-woo said. "And I'm going to keep the promise I made him. I'm going to build something different." "Good," his uncle said. "That's good. Your father would be proud." Joon-woo flew back to Denver 2 days later after handling the immediate legal matters and signing papers to begin dismantling his father's LA operations. It would take time, months, maybe years. But he'd started the process. When he landed at Denver International Airport, it was snowing. He stood outside the terminal for a moment, letting the cold air fill his lungs, feeling more awake than he had in weeks. His phone buzzed with a text from Gabriella. "Welcome home. When you're ready, I know a place that makes really good Korean Ugandan fusion food." Weird combination, but it works. Kind of like us, probably. Joon-woo smiled and texted back. "Tomorrow night?" "Tomorrow night sounds perfect." He caught a cab back to his penthouse, which felt even emptier than usual after the crowded intensity of the past 2 weeks. But tomorrow he'd start filling it with something new. Tomorrow he'd take Gabriella on their first real date. Tomorrow he'd keep moving forward. The restaurant Gabriella had chosen was in the Highland neighborhood, a small place called Fusion House that looked like someone's grandmother's dining room had been converted into a restaurant, which, according to the sign, was exactly what had happened. Joon-woo arrived 10 minutes early, nervous in a way he hadn't been since high school. He'd changed his shirt 3 times before leaving his apartment, finally settling on a simple black button-down and jeans. Nothing too formal, nothing that screamed, former crime boss trying too hard. Gabriella showed up exactly on time, wearing a yellow dress that made her skin glow and her smile even brighter. She'd done something different with her hair, small braids pulled back from her face, and Joon-woo found himself staring. "You look beautiful," he said, then felt his face heat. "Sorry, you always look good, but tonight you look—" "Thank you," she interrupted, saving him from his rambling. "You clean up pretty nice yourself." The owner, a Korean woman in her 70s named Mrs. Park, greeted them like family. She sat them at a corner table and immediately brought out banchan, small dishes of kimchi and pickled vegetables, along with something Joon-woo didn't recognize. "Matoki chips with gochujang dip," Gabriella explained, pointing to the fried plantain chips. "Trust me, it's amazing." She was right. The sweet plantain and spicy Korean pepper paste shouldn't have worked together, but somehow they did. "So," Gabriella said after they'd ordered, bulgogi for him, a Ugandan beef stew for her, and chapati to share. "Tell me about your father. The real story, not the surface version." Joon-woo took a sip of his water, buying time, but she'd asked for honesty, and honesty was what he'd give her. "He was complicated," he started, "capable of great kindness and terrible cruelty, sometimes in the same day. I loved him and hated him and feared him, all at once. Does that make sense?" "Completely. My father was similar, not in the crime way, but in the complicated way. He could be warm and loving one moment, then distant and critical the next. I spent most of my childhood trying to figure out which version I'd get." "Did you? Ever figure it out?" She shook her head. "Not really, but I learned to love him anyway, contradictions and all. People aren't puzzles we can solve. They're just people. Messy and imperfect and doing their best with whatever they've got." The food arrived, and they ate slowly, trading bites and stories. Gabriella told him about growing up in Kampala, about the sounds and smells she still missed, about her grandmother who'd made the best matuk in the city. Joon-woo told her about Seoul, about fishing trips with his father before everything went wrong, about his mother who still called every Sunday, even though he'd broken her heart by following his father's path. "Do you talk to her? Your mother?" Gabriella asked. "More now than I used to. She wants me to come to Busan for my sister's wedding in 2 months." "Are you going?" "I want to. But I'm worried about leaving Denver right now. There's still so much to sort out with transitioning the business, and the community center wants to expand the taekwondo program, and you're making excuses," Gabriella said gently. Joon-woo paused mid-sentence. "What? You're afraid of going back to Korea, of facing your family, of them seeing who you've become and judging you for it. So you're making excuses about why you can't go." He wanted to argue, but she was right. Again, how did she keep doing that? "Come with me," he said impulsively. Gabriella's eyes widened. "What? To Korea? To the wedding? Come with me. I'll pay for everything, flights, hotel, everything. Just come." "Joon-woo, that's crazy. We've been on one date." "I know, but..." He reached across the table and took her hand. "I know it's fast and probably stupid and definitely presumptuous, but I don't want to do this alone. And more than that, I want you there. I want my family to meet you. I want to show you Seoul and introduce you to my mother and maybe..." He trailed off. "Maybe what?" "Maybe show them that I'm serious about changing, that I'm building a different life. And you're a big part of that." Gabriella stared at him for a long moment. "This is moving really fast." "I know. And we still barely know each other." "I know that too. And there's still so much complicated history between us. I helped your wife leave, Joon-woo. That's not a small thing." "You helped her save herself," he corrected. "There's a difference. And if you hadn't, I'd probably still be sleepwalking through my life, pretending everything was fine, when it was falling apart. She squeezed his hand. Can I think about it? Of course. Take all the time you need. They finished dinner and walked through the neighborhood, which was alive with Friday night energy. Street musicians played on corners, restaurants spilled light and laughter onto the sidewalks, and the spring air smelled like possibility. Tell me something about yourself that no one else knows, Joon-woo said as they walked past a park where kids were playing on swings despite the late hour. Like what? Anything. Something real. Gabriella was quiet for a moment. I want kids someday. Like a lot of them. 4, maybe 5. I want a house full of noise and chaos and love. But I'm terrified that I'll mess them up. That I'll pass on all my baggage and trauma and make their lives harder instead of better. You wouldn't, Joon-woo said with certainty. You'd be an amazing mother. I've seen the way you talk to the kids at the community center when you pick up your friend's daughter. You're patient and kind and you actually listen to them. You notice that? I notice everything about you, he admitted. Like how you bite your lower lip when you're thinking hard about something, or how you twist your watch when you're nervous, or how your whole face lights up when you laugh. I notice all of it. Gabriella stopped walking and turned to face him. Joon-woo. Too much? He asked. I'm coming on too strong, aren't I? No, she said softly. Not too much. Just unexpected. I'm not used to someone paying this much attention. Then they were idiots. She laughed, and that light up her whole face thing happened, and Joon-woo felt his heart do something complicated in his chest. Your turn, she said. Tell me something no one else knows. He thought about it. I'm terrified of becoming my father. Not the dying part, the life part. I'm scared that no matter how much I change, no matter how hard I try, I'll end up hurting the people I love, because that's all I know how to do. That's the difference, though, Gabriella said. Your father never questioned himself, never worried about the damage he caused. The fact that you're afraid of it means you're already different. They found a bench and sat, watching the park empty as families called their children home. Gabriella leaned her head on Joon-woo's shoulder, and he wrapped his arm around her, pulling her close. I'll go with you, she said quietly, to Korea. For the wedding. Really? Really, but on one condition. Anything. We take this slow, like really slow. No rushing into things just because it feels good in the moment. We do this right. Slow, Joon-woo agreed. I can do slow. Can you though? She tilted her head to look up at him. Because from where I'm sitting, you seem like the kind of man who makes fast decisions. I used to be, but I'm learning that the best things are worth waiting for. She smiled and settled back against his shoulder, and they sat there until the streetlights came on and the park grew quiet around them. The next 2 months passed in a blur of careful courtship. Joon-woo took Gabriella to museums and hiking trails, to hole-in-the-wall restaurants and fancy dinners she insisted they split the check for. They watched terrible movies at the Dollar Theater and good ones at the fancy cinema downtown. They cooked together in his kitchen, her teaching him Ugandan dishes while he showed her family recipes his mother had taught him years ago. They didn't kiss. Not beyond cheek kisses when they said goodnight, or forehead kisses when one of them was having a particularly hard day. Joon-woo wanted it badly enough that it sometimes kept him awake at night. But he'd promised slow, and he'd keep that promise even if it killed him. His mother called every week, growing more excited about the wedding and more curious about the woman her son was bringing home. What's her name again? His mother asked for the 3rd time. Gabriella, Ayama. She's from Uganda. She's smart and kind, and she keeps me honest. She must be special if you're bringing her to meet the family. She is, Ayama. She really is. But while things with Gabriella were progressing, other parts of his life were getting complicated. Taemin had been pushing back on the business transition, arguing that Joon-woo was making a mistake by going legitimate. "You're throwing away everything we built," Taemin said during a tense meeting at a coffee shop in Cherry Creek. "And for what? Some woman you barely know?" "Watch it," Joon-woo said, his voice dangerous. "This isn't about her. This is about me choosing a different path. You can come with me or you can't. But either way, I'm done with the old way of doing things. The old way kept us alive, kept us rich, and miserable, and looking over our shoulders every second. I don't want that anymore, Taemin. I want something real." Taemin stood abruptly. "You've gone soft. Your father would be ashamed." "My father told me to get out," Joon-woo said quietly. "His last words to me were to walk away and build something better. So that's what I'm doing." Taemin left without another word, and Joon-woo knew he'd probably just lost his oldest associate. The thought hurt, but not as much as it would have 6 months ago. Then there was Hyunmi. She called 2 weeks before the Korea trip, her voice bright and almost manic. "Joon-woo, it's me." He almost didn't recognize her voice. "Hyunmi, how are you?" "I'm good. Great, actually. Seoul is wonderful. But I'm calling because I made a mistake." His stomach sank. "What kind of mistake?" "Leaving you. Us." I was scared and overwhelmed, and I ran instead of fighting for what we had. But I've had time to think. And Joon-woo, I want to try again. I want to come home. The silence stretched between them, thick with unspoken words. "Hyunmi, I know what you're going to say. That I left? That I hurt you? That too much has changed. But people make mistakes, right? And I'm asking for a second chance. For us to try again." "I'm seeing someone," Joon-woo said, the words coming out firmer than he felt. "It's new and complicated, but it's real. And I'm not going to mess it up by looking backward." "Someone?" Her voice sharpened. "Already? We've only been separated for 6 months. Actually, you left me 8 months ago, and you filed for divorce. The papers came through last month." "I know, but I thought you'd wait. That you'd still want me." "I did wait," Joon-woo said quietly. "I waited and I hurt and I put myself back together piece by piece, and now I'm finally moving forward. I'm sorry, Hyunmi. I really am. But I can't go backward." She was crying when she hung up, and Joon-woo felt terrible but also free. He'd made a choice, the right choice, the choice that moved him toward the life he actually wanted instead of the one he used to have. He called Gabriella immediately. "Hyunmi called," he said without preamble. "She wants to try again." I said no. "Oh." Gabriella's voice was careful. "How do you feel about that?" "Good. Sad but good. Like I'm finally closing a door that should have been closed a long time ago." "Are you sure? I mean, you were married to her for years. That's not nothing." "I'm sure," Joon-woo said firmly. "She was my past. You're my, well, hopefully my future, if you'll have me." He could hear her smile through the phone. "One step at a time, remember? But yeah, I'm hoping for that future too." The flight to Seoul was long but comfortable. Joon-woo had splurged on business class tickets, and Gabriella had protested until he'd pointed out that he couldn't exactly ask her to sit in coach while he stretched out up front. They watched movies and talked and played card games on the fold-down table. Somewhere over the Pacific, Gabriella fell asleep with her head on his shoulder, and Joon-woo sat very still, afraid to wake her and wanting to memorize this moment. His mother met them at Incheon Airport, tiny and fierce in a bright green hanbok, her hair perfectly styled despite the early hour. "Joon-woo ya!" She hugged him tightly, then turned to Gabriella with sharp, assessing eyes. "And you must be Gabriella." "Yes, Mrs. Beck. It's wonderful to meet you." His mother said something in Korean, too fast for Joon-woo to catch, then laughed at his confused expression. I said she's too pretty for you, his mother translated. And too smart probably. But if she makes you happy, then I'm happy. The next week was a whirlwind. His sister's wedding was beautiful, traditional and modern mixed together in a way that felt uniquely Korean-American. Min-seo was radiant in her hanbok, her groom looking equally happy and terrified as he took his vows. But the real revelation was watching Gabriella navigate his family. She charmed his aunts with questions about their cooking, played with his young cousins with endless patience, and even won over his skeptical uncle with thoughtful questions about Korean history. And his mother fell in love with her. She's good for you, his mother said one evening after dinner, when Joon-woo was helping wash dishes. She makes you softer, kinder, more like the boy I raised before everything got so complicated. I know, Iyama, she's special. Then don't let her go. And Joon-woo, ya, don't wait too long. Good women don't stay on the market forever. We're taking things slow. His mother snorted. Slow is for young people with all the time in the world. You're almost 40. Slow is done. Now you should be smart and fast. Despite his mother's pushing, Joon-woo stuck to their agreement. But on their last night in Seoul, he took Gabriella to Namsan Tower, where the city spread out below them like scattered stars. They walked the path where couples left love locks, thousands of them covering the railings in messages of hope and promise. It's beautiful, Gabriella said, running her fingers over the locks. It is, Joon-woo agreed. But he was looking at her, not the view. She caught him staring and smiled. What? I'm falling in love with you, he said simply. I probably already have fallen in love with you. And I know we agreed to go slow, and I'm not asking you to say it back, or feel the same way. I wanted you to know. That's all. Gabriella's eyes filled with tears. You can't just say things like that. Why not? It's true. Because, she wiped at her eyes. Because I'm falling for you too, and it terrifies me. This whole thing terrifies me. We're so different from such different worlds. What if we mess this up? Joon-woo took her hands in his. Then we mess it up together. And we figure it out. Because Gabriella, I don't want safe and easy. I want real and complicated and you. Even if it's scary. Especially because it's scary. She laughed through her tears. That's the worst romantic speech I've ever heard. But did it work? Yeah, she whispered. It worked. He pulled out a small box from his pocket and her eyes went wide. It's not what you think, he said quickly. Open it. Inside was a simple silver bracelet with a small charm, a mountain on one side, a map of Uganda on the other. To remember where we came from, he said softly, and to remind us that home is wherever we are together. Gabriella held out her wrist, and he fastened the bracelet carefully. Then she reached up and kissed his cheek, letting her lips linger there. Thank you, she whispered. For everything. For being patient and honest and for not giving up on me even when I was pushing you away. Thank you for seeing me, he replied. The real me, not the version I pretended to be. They stood there as the sun set over Seoul, two people from opposite sides of the world who'd somehow found each other in the middle, and Joon-woo knew with absolute certainty that this was what his father had meant. This was the life worth living. This was home. The flight back to Denver felt different. They held hands through most of it, dozed on each other's shoulders, planned future adventures over tiny airplane meals. When they landed, it was snowing again, and Gabriella laughed with delight as the first flakes landed on her face. I love the snow, she said. Never thought I would after growing up where it was always warm, but there's something magical about it. Stay with me tonight, Joon-woo said impulsively. Not like, just stay, We'll order food and watch terrible TV and just be together. No pressure, no expectations. She agreed, and they ended up on his couch with Thai food and a reality show marathon, her feet tucked under his legs and his arm around her shoulders. It was perfect and simple and everything he never knew he needed. Around midnight, Gabriella's phone rang. She answered it. Then her face went pale. "When?" she asked, her voice shaking. "How bad?" Okay. I'm coming. I'll get the first flight I can." She hung up and turned to Joon-woo with tears streaming down her face. "It's my father," she said. "He had a stroke. I need to get to Richmond, right now." "Then we go," Joon-woo said, already pulling out his phone. "Let me call my pilot. We can be there in 4 hours." "You don't have to." "I'm coming with you," he said firmly. "You were there for me when my father was dying. I'm not letting you face this alone." They flew to Richmond on Joon-woo's private plane, one of the few expensive things he'd kept from his old life. Gabriella was silent most of the flight, staring out the window at the darkness below. He held her hand and didn't try to fill the silence with empty words. Her family was at the hospital. Mother, 2 younger brothers, various aunts and uncles and cousins. They looked at Joon-woo with suspicion until Gabriella introduced him. Then they softened slightly. "This is Joon-woo," she said. He's important to me." Her mother, a tall woman with the same kind eyes as her daughter, hugged her tightly. Then she surprised Joon-woo by hugging him too. "Thank you for bringing my daughter home," she said in accented English. "Family should be together at times like this." They spent 3 days at the hospital. Gabriella's father recovered slowly, the stroke minor enough that the doctors were optimistic about his long-term prognosis. But the scare had shaken everyone. Joon-woo made himself useful, bringing coffee, running errands, entertaining Gabriella's younger brothers with stories about taekwondo and bad jokes that made them groan. Her family slowly warmed to him, her mother especially. "You're good for her," her mother told him on the second day, echoing his own mother's words. "She's been alone too long, taking care of everyone else but never letting anyone take care of her. You change that. You make her let you in." "She's good for me too," Joon-woo said. "She makes me want to be better." "Then, be better," her mother said simply. "Love is a choice you make every day. Choose her every day, and she'll choose you back." On their last morning in Richmond, Gabriella's father was awake and alert. Joon-woo hung back while she talked with him, giving them privacy for their reunion. But as they were leaving, her father called him over. "Joon-woo," he said, his speech still slightly slurred. "Take care of my daughter." "I will, sir, I promise." "Good. Because she's special. And she deserves someone special. You be that person." "I'm trying to be, sir." Gabriella's father nodded, satisfied, then closed his eyes to rest. On the flight back to Denver, Gabriella was quiet again, but this time it was a peaceful quiet. She curled up against Joon-woo's side, and he wrapped his arms around her, pressing a kiss to the top of her head. "Thank you," she whispered, "for everything. For coming with me. For being patient with my family. For just being there. Always," he promised. "Wherever you need to go, whatever you need to do, I'm there." "I love you," she said suddenly, lifting her head to look at him. "I know we said slow, and I know it's scary and complicated and maybe too fast. But I love you, Joon-woo. I think I've loved you since that first day in your penthouse when you were broken and lost and I made you soup." His heart felt too big for his chest. "I love you too. So much it scares me sometimes." "Good," she said with a small smile. "We should both be a little scared. It means we know how much we have to lose." "Then let's not lose it," Joon-woo said. "Let's hold on tight and build something that lasts." "Deal." She kissed his cheek, then his forehead, then settled back against him with a contented sigh. And as the plane carried them home to Denver, to the life they were building together, Joon-woo knew he'd finally found what he'd been searching for all along. Not redemption or forgiveness or escape from his past. Just love. Simple and complicated and worth every risk. 6 months later, Joon-woo proposed on a Saturday morning at the community center, surrounded by his taekwondo students who'd helped him plan the whole thing. They held up signs that spelled out "Marry me," while Gabriella walked in thinking she was just picking him up for brunch. She said yes before he even got the ring out of his pocket. They got married at Fusion House, Mrs. Park insisting on catering the whole thing. His mother flew in from Busan. Her family came from Richmond. Min Seo stood as his best woman. Gabriella's younger brother walked her down the aisle. It was chaotic and loud and filled with two families from opposite sides of the world, finding common ground in love and laughter and really good food. And when Joon-woo kissed his wife, a soft, sweet kiss that tasted like happiness and promise, he knew his father had been right. This was the life worth living. This was everything. And there you have it, a love story that started with soup and ended with forever. If you made it this far, thanks for sticking with us through all the twists and turns. Drop a comment about your favorite moment, hit that subscribe button if you want more stories like this, and remember that sometimes the best things in life come from the most unexpected places.